another example from a video I did on the survival show, Naked and Afraid. 2 points.
Look at the thumbnail. It's a man saying to a woman, your only survival skill is leeching off others. Is it a surprise that women aren't going to be as interested in that video?
7% female.
That is a really silly way of proving that women aren't interested in survival, is looking at the statistics of your own channel that is male-dominated. Hello lovely people, my name is Emma, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Today we are going to be talking about a channel and a specific video that was recommended to me. The channel is Think Before You Sleep. It's got almost 500,000 subscribers, so a lot bigger than mine. And the specific video that we're going to look at is why women need men to survive. So first of all, I had a little look at the channel, just the video overview. The About section unfortunately doesn't have that much interesting stuff. The only part of the description that describes the channel owner is the bit that says stuff that keeps me awake at night. So I just kind of scrolled through some video titles and thumbnails to try and get an idea of what this was all about. It's a kind of anti-feminist, anti-woke culture sort of channel. If we just have a quick look through some of the titles, we've got Why Woke Comedians Aren't Funny, Trans Activists Are Trying to Bully Straight Men, Mother and Daughter Have an OnlyFans Account, False Accuser Puts Innocent Man in Jail for 4 years, How Feminists Taught This Generation to Hate Men. It's lots of stuff like that. And I have mixed feelings because this is something that actually even some of my feminist friends and I kind of disagree on. You might disagree as well. I do genuinely think there is enough of an anti-male rhetoric to make men feel unfairly attacked or villainized. And I think that talking about that is valid. I also think there is value in having a channel that calls out misandry in the sort of entertaining way that we call out misogyny. I think that that's a fair and equal way of calling out just people being bad. And I think there's definitely value in saying, this woman here is spreading a dangerous message to her audience that hurts men, and doing it in, an entertaining way for YouTube. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Where I have the issue is that this channel seems to be very much playing into stereotypes of modern women. It's very like, this is what modern women are ending up like, and it's women who are overweight and have short hair and live alone with cats. Basically everything that the red pill crowd say is going to happen to me whenever I make a video. I can also see a lot of disingenuous content that I know to be false. There's a lot of fat phobia. In general, my feeling is that this could be a good thing, but most likely, even the valid criticisms of bad people presented in such a way with the context of, oh, feminists are like this, women are like that, presented in this kind of all women are bad way. I think that's going to encourage some of the kind of red pill incel crowd that we've seen and kind of validate their feelings on all women are terrible. So basically mixed views. I think it could be a good thing. I think it's probably in reality, unfortunately not. So we're just going to look at and focus on this one specific video, why women need men to survive. And my concern on the face of this is that it's going to be sort of redundant. And that's based on not just the video title, but the pinned comment by Think Before You Sleep, which is this kind of silly, like, if all men disappeared, women wouldn't be able to survive. And we've sort of talked about this in reverse. We vaguely talked about this when we were talking about people like the transformed wife wanting women out of the workplace. And we're talking about how if you lose 50% of the workforce, you're going to have a big problem. Just on the face of the question, and maybe it'll bring up some good points, on the face of the statement, why women need men to survive, yeah, because if we lost almost 50% of the planet, it would be a big problem. There are male-dominated fields that would collapse, just like there are female-dominated fields that would collapse if we lost all women. I think just losing half of the population where there is gender splits, good grammar me, losing half of the population where there are gender splits in certain areas where those specific areas will definitely really suffer, losing, basically the entire sector, yeah, it's like, yeah, survival would probably be pretty tricky. It would certainly cause some problems. So let's just start listening to it because we can only at this point guess what the information is going to be. The description says this is a response to a discussion in the Fresh and Fit podcast, which is a very disingenuous red pill podcast. A lot of the people who talk about and recommend that podcast are the people who I have had interactions with, who are sort of admitted liars and manipulators. And the content I've seen from Fresh and Fit, the way they talk to women is very trying to, it's almost like a creationist kind of perspective. It's trying to pigeonhole the enemy into looking like something or sounding like something instead of having open discussions. So that also makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm going to try and be objective and just judge this video based on just the video. So let's see.
Quick idea this morning that wouldn't work in the community tab, so I thought I would try something new by making a quick video about it. People said I was recently shouted out in a Fresh and Fit video, and here's the conversation that shout out led to.
Women need men to survive.
Okay, but you think that men don't need women to survive?
No.
At all?
No.
But you could be that type of man. Like, there's some men that won't even go camping a day in their life.
Okay.
Because they're afraid to sleep outside.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fair.
You know what I
That
mean?
does not change the fact. That does not change the fact that if I lined up 100 men and 100 women and I put them on separate islands and told them survive, the men would have a far higher likelihood of surviving than the women.
That's a very interesting. So this happens actually a lot in the red pill community. A lot of it, they sort of take back to this base survival of like, I don't know, what humanity was like thousands of years ago, and is like, okay, well, say we're in the caveman times, and you're like, well, we have a societal infrastructure, and we have, you know, women in education now and who are trained, and why are we assuming that we're on an island trying to survive? It's very peculiar.
So you know what? That seemed like it's just a skill set. So ladies, we need to get into survival classes.
The question
Man
is,
or woman.
would you really want to learn that?
Absolutely.
I want to know his
Why
sources.
not?
If he didn't mention that, you never learned that
No,
skill.
That's not true.
Do the guys from Fresh and Fit not think that Girl Scouts exist? In the UK, we have rainbows, brownies, guides. It's like the girl guiding is like the equivalent of the Scouts, but for women. But women do learn those things. It's a kind of weird stereotype that like no women would be interested in knowing how to survive. And again, what is the relevance of being able to survive in the wilderness to, you know, not having men or women in society anymore?
Well, I mean,
I am so tired of women denying reality because of what they've been told by feminists. Feminists are always saying, men and women have the same interest. STEM classes in college and STEM jobs should be 50% women and 50% men. But
I don't know if I've ever heard a feminist say men and women have the same interest. The feminists that I know have the same position as me, which is that all people have a variety of different interests. Certainly, stereotypically and historically, men are brought up, taught to be more interested in, say, more outdoorsy things, and women are brought up to be more interested in, you know, traditionally feminine things. Interests just vary person to person.
the reality is that men and women don't have the same interest. Thanks to YouTube analytics, I can prove that not only
What an interesting accent this person has. If you're from over in America, if you're from the continent, let me know what accent this is, because I think it's really fun and I've not heard it before.
would women be at an extreme strength and stamina disadvantage when it comes to surviving without men, but also very few women are even interested in survival. And I bet that includes the...
That's an interesting claim to make. If we're going back to... Okay, so it seems like the actual perspective we're doing here is like if we went back to... If society was completely destroyed. It's kind of a pointless hypothetical because it's not something that's happening and therefore not really relevant. It's just a sort of... If this unrealistic thing happened, men would be better. So there. It doesn't really mean anything. But okay, so we are saying that we're going back to like a base... survival level. If we were going back to just having to survive, saying that women aren't interested in survival is bizarre. Of course, all humans are interested in survival the same amount. We all have the same desire to survive. Women are so disinterested in lighting campfires that we would just give up immediately because we have no interest in surviving. What a bizarre thing to say.
the women who said that they would learn survival skills in that clip. Here's my analytic data that shows that men and women have different...
Again, most of my friends growing up in the UK did some kind of Girl Scouts or Girl Guides, and they know survival skills. They were taught the same survival skills as boys. So maybe this is just a thing with the USA, maybe this is just an assumption that think before you sleep is made, but I just think he's wrong in this, like, women aren't interested in survival stuff at all.
different interests. This is my most popular video on survival about the island with Bear Grylls. We can see that it has almost 2 million views as of November.
This is going to be extremely disingenuous because the majority of viewers of his channel and the majority of his subscribers are male. So of course the majority of people who watch his videos are male. That is an extremely disingenuous use of analytics, and I'm going to skip past it because it's not relevant. I'm sorry that he's pretending that it is, but it's not.
November 11th, 2021, by the way.
if you have a channel dedicated to talking bad about women, even if most of those women probably deserve it, if you have a channel that is anti-feminist and anti-woman, your audience is mostly going to be male, and therefore the viewers of your videos are mostly going to be male.
Will mention the obvious. This channel is a channel that caters to men, so obviously the female audience is going to be small.
Thank you. He did acknowledge it. He acknowledged it. Thank you very much. Think before you sleep.
For comparison, an average video on my channel that is not specifically targeted to something that only men would be interested in has between a 6 and 10% female audience. Here's an example of that. Above average female viewership on my channel is around 11 to 20%, and videos that are below average run from 0 to 5% female viewership.
Okay.
Let's get another example from a video I did on the survival show, Naked and Afraid. 2 points.
Look at the thumbnail. It's a man saying to a woman, your only survival skill is leeching off others. Is it a surprise that women aren't going to be as interested in that video?
7% female.
That is a really silly way of proving that women aren't interested in survival, is looking at the statistics of your own channel that is male-dominated. That's really, really silly. If he wanted to prove it, he would look at the statistics of, I don't know, survival skills courses or something, which probably would still be male-dominated and would support his viewpoint, but would mean a lot more than just looking at his channel statistics. This is really disappointing and kind of annoying.
Viewership on nearly 410,000 as of no women. One more example. Survivor.
These examples take up, still going, almost half of his video is examples, statistics based on just analytics of his own channel. Google's right there. Find some actual sources. Because he would quite easily, if his point is that men are more interested in, or men more actively seek out learning survival skills, I think he's probably right, and he would easily find some sources. So I don't understand why he's using this source that can be so easily, torn apart and is just silly.
I believe I even said during the video, and it's apparent when you watch the show, that Survivor is a social game that also happens to include some survival skills. The marketers are trying to make a show for women that their husbands won't complain about. It's the same thing they do when they make shows for kids that their parents won't hate. They are trying to hit multiple demographics to boost the popularity of the show. And in Survivor's case, it worked because that show has been on for 20 years.
I don't understand what this has to do with the topic of why women need men to survive. He's just kind of going off about a reality show. I'm guessing an American reality show.
Of course, I also do this sometimes because I want some women to watch this channel so they learn what men have to deal with. Videos that do well with women. That
is a valid want, and it would be so much easier to do if the videos and the thumbnails weren't so offensive to women. If it wasn't like women are all fat and lazy and entitled. You know, when half your videos and your thumbnails put women off by just straight up offending them and making assumptions about all women, you're not going to get the female audience that you claim to want.
Are typically videos involving children and videos about obesity. Here's a video I did on Wife Swap. Almost 19% female viewership at 1 million views as of November 11th. Here's a second video I did involving children with nearly 1 million views and a female viewership of 13.4%. I believe my record...
I don't understand what his point here is either. I don't understand how this has anything to do with survival skills in men versus women. He's just sort of wasting time talking about my videos about TV shows or topics that women are more interested in have more female viewers. Yeah, of course they do. Well done. What's your point?
Record female viewership was 28 to 30% on a video I did about toddlers and tiaras that also nearly hit 1 million views. Unfortunately, YouTube randomly decided to delete that video with no reason given and no appeal, despite that it broke no rules. If YouTube takes down a video, they don't let you see the analytics. Again, welcome to YouTube. If you
valid complaint about YouTube. YouTube can be very irritating in that way.
Want to see the videos of mine that YouTube has randomly taken down, then go to my Odyssey channel. Let's move on to obesity. Here's a video I did on that topic with 1.2 million.
I'm going to skip ahead again because I don't understand how, my mum is really into, health and wellness kind of content on TV and stuff. Dietitian and nutritionist stuff is still aimed more at women and attracts more women, and therefore more women watch those videos. It's redundant, it's obvious. I don't understand the point he's trying to make with it, and it definitely doesn't relate in any way to the title. This is just kind of rambling nothingness about his analytics. It doesn't make any sense to me. He's not proving the point in his statement even remotely.
Videos about survival which indicates that the vast majority of women are not interested in survival content.
No, it doesn't, because, like he said, the percentage of women that watch his videos anyway, even the ones that are more targeted at women or feature content that women are generally more interested in, they're still only like 7 to 15%. He cannot use this is ridiculous perspective. You can't use your own analytics on your extremely male-dominated anti-woman channel as evidence for what all women are or aren't interested in. You cannot take the analytics from your male-dominated channel and say, see, so the majority of women don't care about X, Y, or Z. Thing is, like I said, if that is his point, he could find outside sources, I'm sure, on, like, survival courses and the amount of women who purchase maybe survival books, the statistics on who buys books about surviving. I'm sure that he could use actual evidence and good sources if he wanted to, and it would still prove his point. I don't understand why he's using his own self-admittedly skewed analytics. It doesn't make any sense.
Getting back to what I said at the start, the point of this video is that the fantasy that feminists promote is just that, a fantasy. Men and
What fantasy do feminists promote?
women have different interests, and while some of those interests overlap, there are many important skills out there that women have no interest in, but men do. Because of that, women in general...
There's interest in, and then there's necessity for... So this is something I said earlier. He's talking about, like, base survival. We're not talking about being on a reality TV show where there's a camera crew and you can just leave at any time. We're not talking about modern society or, like, I don't know, going on a camping trip. He's talking about base survival. And if we were in a position of base survival, women wouldn't be interested. And that's wrong, because women have the same human need to survive as men do. All people, whatever gender, generally want to survive, and will do and learn whatever it takes to survive. If men disappeared, women would be forced to learn, and whether they would do that in time for society to collapse or not, we don't know. Same the other way around. I think either gender would do that. I think people who aren't men or women would do the same thing. It's just crazy to be like, if in a life or death situation, women wouldn't bother learning how to survive because they're not interested. Like, maybe right now, survival skills are dominated by men. That doesn't mean that women have no interest in surviving.
general cannot survive without men and would not survive without men if all men suddenly disappeared, like that show The Last Man that recently got canceled. Think of it this...
So now he's gone back to, it's not a point of base survival, now he's gone back to society as it stands if all men disappeared. And like I said earlier, yeah, it'd be a real fucking struggle, but women would be interested in survival. The human race wants to survive as long as it can. Same the other way around. There are male-dominated fields. Women as a whole would struggle to learn how to fill and adapt in time. There are female-dominated fields that men would struggle to learn to adapt to and fill in time to save society. It doesn't matter what gender. If it was 50% of people and that split was half men and women, it would still be very difficult.
way. Women are the majority in a grand total of 0 of the trade skill jobs that keep society running. No one is stopping them from learning trades.
The majority of... Actually, I'm going to look this up so I don't get this wrong, but I'm pretty confident that the majority of medical roles are held by women. Yeah, women represent close to 70% of the global healthcare workforce. Let's just have a look, see what else there is. Health and social care. Massively, massively important to our survival. For some reason, he's kind of conflating these two ideas of if 50% of people disappeared from society now, he's also kind of saying the skills that we'd need if we were lost in a jungle. It's very odd because it's hard to argue against him when you don't really understand what his position is because it seems to keep changing. But he's said society as it stands. So, personal care workers. So this is... I'll put a link to all of these things down in the description because I actually like sharing my sources. It really upsets me that a lot of the channels that I look at just don't share any sources. They'd say like 0% of important fields are dominated by women. But if you actually look it up, that's just not true. So, personal care workers, 88% women. Personal care workers, hugely important. Health associate professionals, 76% women. Obviously, healthcare is one of the most important things for our survival. Cleaners and helpers. Oh my gosh, if cleaners disappeared, I think that possibly this guy, Think Before You Sleep, and a lot of people would be very surprised at how fast things would fall apart if we didn't have cleaners. Like, cleaners and helpers, very seriously, backbone of society as it stands. Health professionals, 69%. Teaching professionals, 68%. Hugely, hugely important field. Food preparation assistants, 60%. Personal service workers, 56%. Legal, social and cultural professionals, 53%. Legal, social, cultural and related associate professionals, 52%. Sales workers, 52%. Food processing, 51%. When we get into the bulk of the kind of trade stuff, we got subsistence farmers, fishers, hunters and gatherers is 54% male, 46% female. Hospitality, retail and other service managers, 54% male, 46% female. It starts to become very 50-50 in a lot of really important areas. And then when you get into things like science and engineering, that's when you get the male dominated. 72% male, 28% female. A lot of important areas are dominated by women. A lot of important areas are dominated by men. A lot of important areas are 50-50 roughly. It just seems kind of obvious and self-explanatory to me that there are important fields dominated by women, there are important fields dominated by men. And that's why it would be very difficult to survive if either side disappeared. It's just kind of obvious.
So you can't claim that women don't know how to change a tire because they are being oppressed, especially when you can look this information up on YouTube for free.
So you know what?
I've never heard anyone say they don't know how to change a tire because they're oppressed. That's quite strange. I don't know where that came from.
Seems like it's just a skill set. So ladies, we need to get into survival classes.
The question
Man
is,
or woman.
would you really want to learn that?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I want to know his
Why
sources.
not?
If he didn't mention that, you never learned that
No.
skill.
The woman that got completely ignored that said, I want to know his sources. Solidarity, my friend.
That's not true.
Well, I mean, I can speak for myself. I do things like that, so I don't mind.
Okay, that's you.
So that's why I said I can speak for myself. He asked, would I really want to learn that?
You're
Yeah.
a gross exception to the rule. No disrespect.
No, none
But-
taken.
The chance of a massive number of women doing that is almost zero.
Yeah, because stereotypes exist. Honestly, I'm kind of partly disappointed just because this channel and the videos that he makes has so many views. I kind of thought this might be a better than average discussion, but this really is the most basic, I'm a sexist, haha, look at how extreme I am, I'm cool. Not even a brief acknowledgement that yes, men are traditionally brought up to do more traditionally masculine things. And then, blaming women for not being brought up the way that men are. It's just it's kind of pathetic. It's not a good argument. There's no nuance. There's nothing interesting here. It's just a whole video of my own YouTube analytics, and then, women aren't interested in survival skills. Citation needed. Really stupid, to be honest.
Survival skills are a ton of work to learn. Stop lying or calling yourself the exception just to win the argument.
See, this is the other problem I have with all of these red pill people, is that when women say, well, you're wrong, actually. This stereotypical idea you have of all women isn't true, and I can tell you it's not true because I don't feel the way that you say that I should. Is that men like this just say, well, they're lying. Anytime there's a contradiction to the way they view women, they call women liars. That's why half their videos are about how women are liars and women lie and do this. And it's they'll show an example of a woman lying. And then it's see, all women are liars, and therefore whenever they prove me wrong, they're just lying. It's really childish.
Nothing is stopping women from consuming content that teaches them about survival or trade skills.
But again, we're not in your fantasy world where 50% of men are about to disappear. The reality of our modern culture is a lot of men also don't study survival skills. I would say a lot of people in general don't study survival skills because it's not something we need in our day-to-day lives. We're sat here having a conversation over the internet. You and I, right now, don't need basic survival skills. But there's no acknowledgement of that. It's just it's like imagining that we all need this thing and women are just relying on men to do it because they don't want to, rather than the reality that is, none of us really need this skill. Men are brought up being more encouraged to take part in things like that, and so adult women have less of an interest. It's redundant and silly, and to make that your evidence of you see, women would collapse without men and they're all liars, it's just fucking stupid.
Yet they don't watch it. Just admit when you're wrong instead of being defensive on a subject that you clearly know nothing about.
Well, yeah, we don't have access to the evidence you do of your own YouTube analytics, so clearly we're wrong. This is why I don't like Fresh and Fit as well, because they always talk to the women on their show like that. They will ask them questions, and then even when that woman gave a reply, he said, "Would you be interested in that?" And she was like, "Yeah, I do stuff like that." And they're like, "Yeah, but you're wrong. Yeah, but this other point. Yeah, but you're right. They will never ever concede concede a point to a woman on that show. I would say the same with Think Before You Sleep. I bet he will never concede a point to a woman. Whereas, like, the reality of having any discussion on a topic is that you accept that there are points you can learn from both sides. To have this whole, oh, women need men to survive, and not to acknowledge any areas in which, say, there are jobs that are female-dominated that are important, like healthcare, or not to acknowledge the environmental factors in men learning survival skills, not to acknowledge anything outside and just to be like, women are liars and they're wrong, that's not a discussion, that's just feeding an echo chamber.
If you can humble yourself like that and say you were wrong, people will actually respect you for it. Anyway.
I would say the same thing back at you, Think Before You Sleep. If you can humble yourself and admit that you are wrong on anything, on one small thing, I've seen you arguing in the comments of this video because you won't even accept your viewers challenging you on your thoughts because you can't be wrong. Well, actually, I can't be wrong because women are liars. I challenge you to humble yourself and accept one point in which you are wrong. And then I and other people will respect you more, you're right.
Subscribe to the channel,
Don't subscribe to the channel. That has a lot of subscribers, and it upsets me because, like I say, these are not good arguments. These are not remotely good arguments. There's nothing interesting, there's no information, there's no sources, it's not even, like, entertaining, it's just solid pictures, while he's like, and so women are liars, the end. And that's got, what, 200,000 views? YouTube can be depressing sometimes. But it just makes sexist men feel good about their own views. Even if it's false, even if it's disingenuous and misleading, and sort of silly and nonsensical and doesn't mean anything, it makes sexist men feel good about their views, and that's a problem. This channel is a problem, I'm afraid. And it could be done right. Someone more objective and more willing to listen to outside sources could do the same kind of content, talking about issues of men's rights, talking about misandry from people who have a lot of followers that they might teach. That could be a thing if it was genuine. If it was a genuine discussion and not just this, women are always wrong and lie and are stupid and therefore I win. That's just, it's disappointing to me that so many people watch and enjoy that. Although, to be fair, it's got 200,000 views, it's got 19k likes, so maybe it wasn't that popular? We can't tell anymore because YouTube got rid of the like and dislike bar. So there's no, like, simple way to see how this video was received by an audience. His pinned message is this. It seems like a number of people are misinterpreting the message, so I will pin this. Men need women to procreate. Duh, that's not the point of this video. That's not a point that I made because I didn't think it was relevant, but I understand why people would say that. The point is that all feminists who work in an air-conditioned BuzzFeed office who tell women to say, women need men like fish need a bicycle, have no idea how difficult their lives would be if men weren't around. Men are the reason you have electricity. I get this all the time. Men are the reason you have running water. Men are why your stove turns on. Almost all the people who repair things are men. Let's forget about procreation for a second. If men disappeared, you'd have no water, no power, no gas, and all your broken stuff would stay broken. Yes, there are like 5% of women who know some of these skills. Citation needed. Science and engineering, 28%. So it's not 5%. 5% obviously sounds a lot better to think before you sleep, but it's not 5%. Who runs the supply lines that keep food in the grocery stores? How are you going to eat if only 5% of truckers are women? Then remember that survival is all about time, so if you think you would have time to teach... That's basically what I said. And I agree, but I think it applies in reverse. You probably wouldn't have the time to teach men enough of the skills to fill the roles missing if women were gone. All men disappearing would be a worldwide survival crisis. All women disappearing would be sad, but the stove, the lights, and the faucet would still work, and food would still be at the store. I wonder if you're right. I think if half the population disappeared, I think you would be surprised and probably wrong, especially because like 50% of farmers and agriculturalists who supply the food is, women. Feminism has told women to ignore the value that men provide to society. This video is a reminder of where feminist would be without men's support. That is all. The grammar in that's pretty bad. But see, that last sentence, if the video was that instead, genuinely, if the video was, this is a reminder of the value that men do provide to society, that could be okay. And then some genuine statistics and evidence on what men provide and men's interests are. Again, it would kind of be ignoring the environmental factor, but it would still be factual and interesting, and you could talk about your experience and the experience of men feeling undervalued, and that would be a valuable discussion. But that's not what the video was. It's just a shame. And it was just like, here are my YouTube analytics, women are liars. And all you're doing is you're alienating a female audience. The misinterpreting of his data, the way he casually throws out 5% of women X, Y, and Z when that's statistically not true and then doesn't provide any sources. 0% of women are this, 5% of women are that, and those things are untrue, and you can very easily Google and find the actual statistic, and it still supports his perspective. I just wish he would do the proper research and portray it in a less accusatory, women are all X, Y, and Z evil kind of way. I am skeptical of how true it is that, like he says, he wants women to watch these videos to change their opinion, because he would have to make his videos very differently to be approachable to a female audience or a feminist audience, including non-female feminists. I think probably the use of this reactionary rhetoric that all the red pill channels do of women being liars and women are all this and women are all that, feminism is evil, I think that that is a way to get more views from men who hold that opinion. That is not a way to be objective and appeal to a larger audience so that you can change their minds. It's just not. Think before you sleep. If you want to have a genuine discussion where we use sources and facts and we talk openly about things and you are willing to concede any point to a woman, let me know. We'll do it. It'll be good. That was Why Women Need Men to Survive by Think Before You Sleep. Thank you very much for the recommendation. My social media DMs are always open if you have any videos you want to recommend to me. I really appreciate it. Even though most of the time it's like, hey Emma, this will make you really angry. I still appreciate it, I swear. Let me know your thoughts down below. Last time we did a kind of feminist topic, I think it might have been the transformed wife, actually. No, it was Jessie Lee Peterson. We talked about Jessie Lee Peterson talking about how education for women was terrible. Educating women in the US was the worst thing that's ever happened. And I asked for you in the comments to tell me how education has improved your life or the life of your female friends. So in this video, if you would like to let me know what you do and how you feel it benefits society and the value you bring, whether you're a man or a woman or neither, just let me know. We can all appreciate each other. I think it will be really nice. And if you don't know what to comment, just put whamming. Before we go, I would like to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to my giant chickens over on Patreon. Amalgam of Neuroses, Amber, Chris Simpson, Connie Wright, Connla, Chicken Maximus Lyons. God damn it, Connla. Fulcrum, Gaming Ridge, Henry Curtis, Izzy, Joe Rowe, Keith from Anonymous, Lizzie Gale, Lynn Dobbs, Miles Tegg, Morgaringa, Mr. Creosote, Nick Hook, Ninja Red, Seriously, Taxman and Wasatch Witch. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for all your support. Do have a very lovely week, and I will see you really soon.